Righto. Welcome to the College Football Show here on the Sports Talkline Network, where we talk sport 24/7, 365. Welcome to my co-host, Nate, No Remorse Sports. Nate, thanks for coming in, mate.
Absolutely. It's good to be with my friend from Louisiana again.
On today's show, I want to talk about name, image, and likeness in college sport. We're going to talk about the LSU documentary that was out during the week, which is awesome to see. And we want to talk about the Power Five versus the Group of Five. Are we wasting our time trying to get the Group of Five to be any better, or do we need all 130 teams across college all in the one group? We'll see how we go. Nate, did you get a chance to check out the LSU documentary during the week?
I did. I caught kind of the second half of it, and I have to admit I was a little bit taken aback about watching it in the first place because it was so soon after the championship season. I'm kind of like, okay, they haven't really had a lot of time to really unpack everything and get into the dirty details, possibly. So I wasn't really comparing it probably to the Jordan documentary that's come out now 20 years later, and they could kind of revisit it. But I will say this, tell me what you think about this, Spinksy, was after the national championship game, you know, Coach O's given the speech of a lifetime to his team, and then Odell Beckham just has to interrupt. He has to interject himself into it and go, "That's what y'all did. That's what y'all did. That's what y'all did." It's kind of like, Odell, this doesn't concern you. I know you're trying to point to the other direction here, but you're trying to focus the attention on yourself. What did you think?
Yeah, Odell likes to steal the spotlight, doesn't he? And this wasn't about him. And I think he's one of those. I've got friends like that too, who they have to make it all about themselves. And so I think that's just Odell's character. I'm not sure he realizes what he's actually doing at times. I just think that's just him. And then the fact that he was going around handing out cash was just dumb.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Are you trying to get these guys in trouble?
Yeah. I liked earlier on in the episode there was a story about Joe Brady and how LSU picked him up from the Saints. That was a good story. There was more of an insight into that, but as you said, I found myself sort of comparing it to the Jordan documentary that we've all watched. So I found it hard to sort of not. I watched every game last year. I knew most of the things in that story. So I think if the documentary had have come out in 10 years' time, it probably would have been better because it's not so fresh in everyone's minds. But yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was good. Yeah, there was a few things that they sort of touched on which I didn't know, and a few of the backstories of a few of the guys. But I was impressed with it. I liked it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, these genuine. You can answer this better than me since you're a diehard LSU fan. But I call them kids now because I'm older than them. But the kids on the team actually seemed like good dudes. So there wasn't that crazy Dennis Rodman character. Since we're comparing it to the rest of the team, there wasn't just that crazy character on the team that you would have saw with the Bulls or other documentaries.
Yeah, I think this team was a lot more about the team themselves, whereas I think LSU teams of the past, especially when Odell was there or Jamal Adams and stuff like that, that it was a lot more about the individuals being better. Whereas I think Coach O's got this team very much working for the team unit themselves, and that must be hard because you got a lot of kids who've got a lot of big personalities who aren't getting paid as yet, but then they need to move on to the NFL. So you get 3 to 4 years max with some of these guys, and it might be hard to keep their personalities in tow because they are fresh out of high school. They think the world is their oyster. So I think Coach O does really well with that sort of stuff. So it's nice. It's good to see.
Yeah, well, you talked about bringing up the likeness and capitalizing on that.
Yeah,
there's not a player I could think in college football better who would have monetized that better than Odell Beckham. Him and his little fruity dancing videos and all that stuff like that. He would have had a ball making money off of his likeness in college.
Oh, for sure. So, yes, since you've sort of gone down that path now, About 18 months ago, the story sort of first came out that it looked like the states were going to legalize making money from your name, image, and likeness. So that's not colleges paying you a wage. That's you being able to make money from who you are and what you do. And so I think Florida and California were the first ones to do it. And because they're the two biggest states sports wise, the NCAA had to step in and do something because it was going to go by the wayside, and it would look like Florida or California would be more propped up by it. So that there was the potential for them to have better teams and stronger teams because kids could make money. And some kids don't, like, as you would know, man, 300 kids get drafted every year, but there are more than that leave college. So there's a lot of kids who will play college football but not go onto professional sport, and that works for soccer, baseball, hockey, everything. So for a kid to make some money in college while they're trying to get their degree as well is perfect, because you just end up with a huge college debt, and you've gone through your 4 years or 5 years and you've made nothing out of it. So I like the way the NCAA is trying to approach this now. The problem is it's been going on for 50 years. If you don't think college kids are making money somewhere on the side, you're an idiot. It's obviously happening. Guys are getting caught for it and are getting suspended. They're missing out on big games and that, but this has always been a thing. So they're trying to regulate it, and they're trying to make it better for the schools as well as the athletes. So the way it's going to go down now is it looks like that you can make money from your name, image, and likeness. So that means if there is a car dealership on the weekend that wants me to come down as a quarterback and be there while they sell some cars, and they'll pay me like $5,000 or whatever. Okay, it's not going to be. No one's going to make millions and millions out of this. Guys like Johnny Manziel probably could have. Guys like Joe Burrow probably could have, but Burrow sort of only really came onto the scene this year. So during that, last year, but during that year, he wouldn't have made enough money to sort of be able to survive off. So being in a team like LSU, they had so many good superstars there this year that I think that would have dropped the money value for all of them. It's not like they have one huge standout. Whereas Trevor Lawrence, he could have been making money this entire time. So each to their own. I find it difficult for players who are more likely to be in a sport like soccer over in the States, or a sport like ice hockey, which is probably not going to make as much money during a college. But do you think it's the right time for them to be paying college kids, or allowing them to make money?
Yeah, of course. And the funny thing is, if you were on a non-athletic academic scholarship, they would not begrudge you for making that kind of money off of your likeness on the side. So why not do the same thing for athletics?
Yeah.
Well, here's the bad part. And you can call me a curmudgeon or whatever you want. I know you won't, Spinksy, because you're a brilliant man. But I have a big problem with 18 and 19-year-olds making more TikTok videos, making money off of their likeness on social media. I can't watch any more of those TikTok and any of those videos. I mean, hold on to your belt buckle, Spinksy, because it's getting douchey out there. It's bad.
It's getting worse, isn't it? Yeah.
But you know what? As a red-blooded American, I respect your right to go douche up the social media scene. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's time for these guys to start making money, because universities have been exploiting the labor of the athletes for years. I mean, for instance, you brought up Johnny Manziel. At Texas A&M, after he left, he only played their 2 seasons. Their initial first 2 seasons were in the SEC. They built a whole entire another rung of their stadium based off of the money generated from Johnny Manziel. Another interesting point is now you're going to start seeing agents trying to recruit big-time players in high school, knowing a lot of the college players, particularly in basketball, are going to be one and done. So in essence, it's going to be a pedophile's best dream come true. I mean, you can see a guy circling the school about 50 times, and they say, "Sir, you've been circling the school about 50 times. I'm an agent.
Yeah, I'm a sports agent. Yeah.
Yeah, let me scout the talent." But yeah, so I think it's going to get it. It's not perfect, but it's going to get murky, and probably amongst the high school rankings, and particularly amongst athletes that don't have the foundation at home.
Exactly. And is that more kids who are more likely coming from broken homes or poor families or whatever? Are they going to make the right choices? Is there going to be not corruption as such, but they're going to be more of murky areas and grey waters with this going forward, which they probably will be. It might take us a good 10 years to actually work out the best system for it. But doing my research for this show, I didn't realize if I was an art major, I could paint and sell those paintings and make money off that, and that was okay. But if I was running back with LSU, I can't make money, which is exactly the same thing. So
Right.
I just find it hard. I find it difficult that the NCAA makes so much money from March Madness, from college football, from all these other sports, and the schools get hardly anything for it. So the rich continue to get richer.
Yeah, and you take the example of what happened with Sam Bradford, his final season at Oklahoma. He returned for his senior season. He ended up, I think, dislocating his shoulder, his throwing shoulder, mind you. Long story short, he still ended up going the first pick overall, and he had an insurance policy picked up, but it would have been for $1 or $2 million. I mean, it wouldn't have been for nearly the amount of money that he could have made. Or, for instance, remember when Jalen Smith came out, his final game at Notre Dame, he completely blew out his knee, and cost him probably another round of cost him being a first round pick most likely, and he couldn't make money off his likeness in college.
And that was one of those things. That was one of the first articles I wrote for Sports Talkline. Actually, was Jalen Smith. So he did his MCL, his ACL, and his LCL all in the same knee. His leg was bent back that way. It was horrible to watch. It was nasty, and I think that sort of signified why guys won't play in meaningless bowl games. And so, because he went down playing for Notre Dame, was it? Maybe, yeah. No, but yeah, he went down, was obviously screaming in agony and pain, and that was really hard to watch. But he missed out on potentially, I think the Cowboys took him in the third round, so he could have gone to the first round. So he missed out on getting paid. He's obviously been getting paid now, which is awesome. But he was in that meaningless bowl game, which meant nothing, and he injured himself. So I can understand how compensation would have been better for him, or if you've been getting paid throughout this whole experience. So as a grey area as it comes to, apparently if I'm a quarterback, I can host a quarterback at camp for younger kids. I can charge them, but I cannot use the team facilities. I cannot use the team logo, the team footballs, nothing to do with the team itself. The team can't help me to promote that. The team can't be seen to be helping me in any way. I can do it at a local oval, at a local high school, whatever, but I can't do it at the facility. So there's going to be a lot of that going on too. I think there's going to be a lot of fines handed out the first couple of years because kids are going to be unsure what exactly they can do and what they can't do. So can I come to a kid's birthday party and his dad gives me a 10 grand? Sure. Can I go to the local pub and sign autographs? No, you can't. So doing the research on this show, there's so many things you can and can't do. I think that I'm not saying footballers are all stupid, but some of them are. So they need to be really careful that they read all the ins and outs first.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're probably right. Well, I don't think it's even going to be fines. I mean, you can even see they're so petty. The NCAA is so petty. I mean, you're probably going to see sanctions for this. You're going to see playoff bans. I mean, look what they did when they found out Reggie Bush got preferential treatment at USC.
And Chase Young,
they got a similar penalty to what Penn State got. I mean, come on. I mean, way. Yeah.
I go there. And Chase Young was stood down for a couple of weeks in 2018 because he took a loan from a family member to help fly him and his missus out to a game. I'm like, so what? What does it matter? But apparently, yeah, you couldn't accept loans. And I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. So you spent all these years in college, you're racking up hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and you could be on the fringe of being drafted or not. And that extra bit of money can help you. I think it's been a scam for all these years that the NCAA just made so much money out of football, basketball, everything across the board. So, yeah, I find it very difficult to fathom how much money, because I think they make $1 billion just out of March Madness weekend, March Madness month. So they're making some serious dollars.
Yeah, and the capital, put the final point down here is most of these football and basketball players never would have gotten into school if it weren't for their athletic ability. So let's be honest, they're there to play sports. You know that, I know that. Let's just be completely transparent about this.
On a side note, do you think sport goes back if schools aren't back?
I have a hard time believing that.
Yes,
and I think it's really going to be a regional thing. For instance, the NFL, Judy Batista announced that the NFL, 22 of the 32 teams are open for business. They're allowed to continue training right now. And so you have to look at it kind of the same way. It's going to be very different regionally in the United States. For instance, a lot of the Pac-12 schools and maybe some of the Big East schools won't be able to return. They're going to have to travel. But I think conferences like the SEC and stuff like that, they're going to be open for business just because of the differences regionally in the United States.
I think the same thing, Em. I think that there's a good chance, yes, because Coach O was saying last week that LSU's been back their full staff in the office for the last 2 weeks. So they're all set. I think they're looking to hopefully to welcome back the kids soon. So we'll see what happens there. But talking about conferences, you've got your Power 5 and you've got your Group of 5. So you've got your SEC, your Big 12, your Pac-12, your Big 10, and your ACC, and then you've got everyone else. The gap continues to grow. There was only one kid drafted in 7 rounds this year from the Group of 5. His name escapes me at the moment, but there was one kid. So of the other 254 kids drafted, they all came from the top 5 conferences. Are we wasting our time having 130 college schools all under the same banner? Do we need to sort of have a first tier and a second tier now and move it all around and make it better for competition? Maybe have every couple of years you play some of them, or are we just wasting our time with that? Or should we be trying to help them to get better?
Yeah, it's because no one wants more parity in college football than I do, because I think that's the advantage the NFL has on college football is every week, any given Sunday, they can win. They do have some parity in college football. I'm not denying that at all, but there's a lot of games, particularly early in the season, where there's smash games. So in that way, I'd love to have a more balanced and more games, playing more interconference games in the Power 5. I'd like to see that. However, when I was playing in junior college, I was not good enough to play at a Power 5 school. However, I did have an outside chance to play at a Division I AA school, or a smaller time, a Group of 5 school. I wanted nothing more than to compete against the Power 5 guys. I wanted those guys. I wanted the best. I wanted the chance to knock those guys off and I think a lot of people feel the exact same way. They want the chance to compete against the LSU. They want to go play the Alabamas. Whether it's once every 3 years, they want that opportunity. And I wanted that too.
Yeah, and it's difficult because you talk about strength of schedule and teams like Clemson had one of the easiest schedules last year, but that's also because of the conference they're in. So it's hard because you can't keep chopping and changing teams around every year so that everyone's got the same strength of schedule. Those teams, when Alabama goes down to play some school that hardly anyone's heard of, that brings a lot of money to that school. A lot of fans, a lot of money comes through the gates and stuff like that. So I agree that we kind of need to keep this going, but the gap is certainly widening. So I'm concerned that in 5 or 10 years' time, the Power Five will be that. The Power Five will be that strong that they'll be leaving the Group of Five behind totally.
Yeah, and another point I'd like to bring out is the fact. Listen, scouting is not perfect. There's a lot of high school players and junior college players that go unnoticed and they end up playing at these Group of Five schools. When you want to evaluate these players at the pro level, we want to see tape of how they played against the big time schools. I think that's your best barometer. It is basically, how did they play against Alabama? Not, of course, they probably smashed their own conference, but how did they play against the big time schools?
Yeah, and we saw that with UCF, not last year, the year before, when they went 13-0. They had a bit of a tougher run that year, but they ended up finishing 6th overall. And I think that the only reason they weren't in the top 4 was because they were a Group of 5 school. So I think most of their competition was easier. But I think last year, strength of schedule had Texas A&M with the hardest strength of schedule. They finished 8-4, 8-5, I think. They played the 2 number 1 ranked teams that year. They played at Clemson earlier in the year, then they played at LSU later on. They also played Bama and Georgia. I'm like, that's horrible. But as they said, they loved it. They loved every second of it. They were happy to finish 8-4 or 6-8.
Yeah.
Was, but they loved it. They wanted to face that challenge every week, and I applaud them for that, because then we look at teams like Clemson, who were just number 1 all year and go through and win 13-0 and don't get challenged until the finals. It just seems to me like, strength of schedule versus that is a bit harder on some teams, but obviously it has to be that way.
Yeah, it's funny because you brought up the ACC with Clemson just smashing people, and you brought up Texas A&M. If you remember, about 5 years ago, Florida State won the national championship with Jimbo Fisher as their coach. They said they had the easiest schedule, played in the ACC. This was a year before they implemented the playoffs. So basically, they said, you smashed all your opponents. You're the number 1 ranked team in the country. We're going to play, and then they played against Auburn in the national championship game and won. And then the following year, the first year they implemented the playoff system, they go undefeated again, and then they absolutely get tossed in the playoff. So that's where I think the introduction to the playoff really helps. There's no more sneaking your way into the top rank anymore. You're going to have to play some real teams. But to top it off, I don't get why Jimbo Fisher left Florida State. He must have been trying to avoid some sort of sanctions because, he won a national championship game at Florida State. The only team you're going to see competition from is Clemson. And you went into the toughest conference in college football, the SEC West, with Texas A&M, which isn't kind of the top tier, program in that area. So it's kind of like, I don't get it.
There was definitely something else going on there, I think, because they lost one game in 2 years, and so they did so well. And then maybe it was more about the challenge, I think. But since he left, the ACC has been like a one team conference.
Yeah,
so, and I think the year Notre Dame made it to the playoffs, might have been the second year of the playoffs. I think they finished 4th and were absolutely towed up the first week of the finals, got destroyed. And I thought, I was beating the drum for don't have them in there. They're not that good. Don't have them in there. They're independent. They're crap. And they got smoked. So as you were saying about strength of schedule, you might finish 12-0, but you might have had 9 or 10 easy games. then you get to the finals and you're like, well, we're coming up against an SEC team or a Big Ten team, whatever, and you get smoked. So I don't know. I just
you got to explain this one to me, Spinksy, because for the love of me, I have no idea how this happened. You introduced the playoffs so you can have you could have an unequivocal champion, right? Am I right there? You have someone go and win the national championship, and then you give the consolation prize to UCF and say they're co-champions? What? What in the blue hell is that?
I think UCF gave themselves the title of champions. I don't think anyone else actually did.
No. I mean, no, they got rings and the whole nine. So, I mean, I don't know what kind of Toys R Us they went to go find those things, but I mean, they're real.
They're real. That I'm actually a fan of making it 8 teams. I think 8, you open it up a bit more. You allow those teams like the UCF or your Texas A&M who are sort of just on the edge there. And I think when LSU played Georgia last year for the SEC title game, Georgia got absolutely smoked. So I think maybe expanding it to 8, you're also getting 4 more games. You're going to make some more money. The season might go an extra weekend, which would be awesome. So I think opening it up to 8 allows for more teams to potentially have a chance. So I love nothing more than seeing a 8th versus 1st team and 8 gets up, and that sort of fairy tale run that you see in like March Madness and stuff like that. Schools that are on the edge who wouldn't usually get there. I like the 8 teams. I think it's good. I think 4 is hard because with 4 teams you're going to get 2 SEC and you're going to get Clemson. So there's 3. So the other 127 schools, you've got 1 spot left. So I think that's hard. I want to see it go to 8.
Yeah, 8 would be good, and they have the ability to go ahead and do it too. Because if you look at when championship weekend is, where they play their respective conference championships, they have about a month until they actually go and play the Final 4 game. So you go back 1 week or 10 days before and play that additional Elite 8 game, whatever. They can easily do this.
Yeah, I always found it strange that there was such a big gap too. Like you seem to play every Saturday all year. Then at the end you have this huge gap, and I always thought that was weird.
Yeah, it is weird because you have it's not that way for all teams because some of the smaller bowl games get played in the middle of December, but the higher priority bowl games always get pushed closer to the beginning of the year or in late December.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but yeah, I'd love to see 8 teams going forward. I think that'd be awesome, especially for maybe then you can potentially have 3 SEC teams in there. You can potentially make it so at least 1 or 2 schools has to be from the group of 5. And that way, then you're kind of giving them the shot too. And I think it's going to be very hard to go past Ohio State this year. I think they're going to be really strong. Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia, I think, and probably Bama. They're your 4, and that's going to be your 4 every other year.
Yeah, what do you think about the idea if they somehow had a group of 5 championship, kind of a national championship, and if the winner of that gets introduced into the Elite 8?
Yeah, I like that. Have them play off, find the winner of each division, each conference, and then get them together and then have their own sort of final series first, and then get them into the Elite 8. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I could see that a lot of people being pissy about that because they're going to want the 3rd team in the Big Ten, or they're going to want the 3rd team in the 3rd or 4th team in the SEC in there because they haven't played anybody. But at least I never want to see a UCF again. No. What I mean by that is I don't want them to ever be able to call themselves champions without playing in the playoffs. Yeah. You didn't go through the gauntlet.
No, you didn't.
You got softballs pitched to you.
Yeah. And that was a difficult thing. I always thought that last year when LSU went on to win it all, I always thought there was going to be that moment that we choked, that we lost, that we just sort of couldn't go all the way. And I was worried. I thought it was going to be Georgia in the SEC championship game first, and then I thought it was going to be in the playoffs. But we just kept on going. So I understand what you're saying. If they let in like a UCF or a Mountain West school or whatever, that third Big Ten team will be like, oh, but I missed out. Like there's always going to be people who win. It's never going to be a fair system because there's so many schools. That's so hard to. They talk about strength of schedule, but is that actually a factor? Like they, I think last year, the year Texas A&M had the hardest schedule on record. There was another school, I think it was Tennessee, had the easiest. So if you put the Texas A&M into Tennessee's schedule, they would have finished 12-0.
So, yeah, and it's funny because they technically play in the same conference, even though Tennessee is in the East and A&M's in the West. I mean, how do you feel about them moving from the Big 12 to the SEC in the first place?
I like it. I think the SEC is stronger for it. I think there needs to be more divisions like the SEC. I don't know whether, just off the top of my head, whether you move Clemson out of the ACC into the Big 10 or the Big 12 or whatever, and try to make that competition stronger too. And like they need more. Part of the reason, like the XFL isn't here in the and the other one, the Alliance League. We've got NFL has got a second division. It is the SEC. The SEC is that strong that there's that many kids coming out. 64 kids come out of there this year, and so I think that's your next step down from the NFL is the SEC. The division is that strong, and I know Bama's been the strongest one over all this time, but Georgia's coming back. LSU is now. Tennessee's going to be awesome going forward. Texas A&M had their shot. So there's so many awesome teams in there, and that division is so strong that I think they're leaving everyone else behind them too. So they need to help the Big 12 or the Pac-12 to get better.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and it was a ballsy move for the first and foremost because had they remained in the Big 12, they were always going to always be in the shadow of University of Texas. There's no doubt about that. So I think it was definitely a move to escape the shadow of Texas and to go and challenge the university. I mean, you're playing in the best conference in the world right now. This is no longer the conference where it's all about speed and no defense anymore.
Yes.
You know?
That's what I love too. You can always tell really good defense comes out of the SEC. Is it the Pac-12, the Big 10? They play a different style of football. Like the Pac-12 after dark, they always get those later games, but there's a lot more footballs through the air. So it's just you can tell what conference you support by what kind of style of football that you like too. So.
Yeah, for the love of me, I'm in Pac-12 territory here, and I just can't get behind the conference just because I just don't like any of the schools. I mean, I detest USC. I don't like Berkeley. UCLA is okay. Stanford I like, but I mean, it's where do I go?
You go there. There's a lot of good high school talent coming out of the California area, the Florida area, and obviously Texas too. But some of those kids don't go on to stay at those schools. They're more likely to go to Louisiana and Alabama and New York, whatever, because that's where they can make a bit more coin. Like you want to be, if you're that good and that strong, most 4 and 5 stars are going to bigger name colleges because they've got more chance of being exposed to the NFL. So I think even though California's got some of the best 5 stars out of high school, they're not really helping their universities by having better talent there.
Yeah, it was funny because I was different than a lot of other players in California, because all the other players in California had the dreams of playing at USC, UCLA. They wanted to be Reggie Bush. I didn't look at it that way. I wanted to go to a part of the country where they valued it more. You were a celebrity there. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it's a religion in the South. Even though the only time I've been in the American South, they were so nice. I thought they were trying to hit on me. I didn't understand like people just being personable, and like where I'm from, it's like, no, they're hitting on you. But um, anyway, uh, it's the equivalent of wanting to move to Los Angeles because you want to pursue the entertainment industry. I mean, that's what it's like moving to the South to pursue football, in my opinion, or the SEC, in my opinion.
Yeah. And like as you said, it costs nothing to be nice, and people in the South are a lot not nicer. Everyone in Los Angeles seems to be stuck up. They seem to be there for themselves. The old saying is, you travel to Los Angeles if you want to make it. You travel to New York where you have made it. So
Yeah, well, it's totally funny that New York is basically bankrupt of any kind of a football scene, and kind of in the high school and in the college scene for such a huge market and everything. It's a total baseball and basketball
yeah,
state.
yeah, because the Jets and the Giants obviously are useless, and they've got Rutgers there too. So that's what part of the article I wrote was about Rutgers. The way does being in a larger market area, but being a smaller school, allow you to make more money, or you're more likely to make more money at an LSU or Alabama, where you are the market. Whereas in New York, you have to compete with the Knicks and the Jets and the Giants and the Patriots a bit and the Bills, and like there's so much going on around there that being from a college up there, you're probably less likely to make money because you're competing with stars.
I want to make one thing perfectly clear. There is only one professional football team in the state of New York, and that's the Buffalo Bills.
Correct.
Yeah, Tony's like Tony Soprano's uncle owns the New Jersey Giants and the New Jersey Jets. Come on, you're not New York. You play on the other side of the turnpike.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There is only actually one team in New York, and that is the Bills.
And they're headed to Canada soon enough, probably.
There was also talk about kids making money from their name, image, and likeness. As a basketball star, your face can be on TV every second or third day. You see your face, you know what you look like, you know what Zion looks like, you know what all these kids coming out of high school look like. LeBron's son's like 12 and everyone knows what he looks like already. Whereas with college football stars, you are actually wearing a helmet. And I'll be honest, there'll be some of them that if they're not wearing number 15 on the field, I wouldn't recognize them on the street. Are you less likely to be recognized on the street? Obviously, heaps of diehard fans will always know who you are, but who's going to pay a left tackle to go sell cars on the weekend if no one actually knows who you are?
Right, and that's another thing, as I think we were talking about earlier, is I think you're going to see a lot of celebrities made, but not from the stars of the team. I think you're going to see a lot of backups and stuff like that who become huge Instagram stars and things of that nature. You're not going to see, your Joe Burrows that are going to be taking over social media. I mean, you're going to probably see players deep down in the depth chart who basically wear the jersey just so they can score at the frat parties.
Yes, and make more TikTok videos. Yeah.
Right. With like a co-ed passed out next to him, but.
Yes.
Don't do that, guys.
No,
we do not want to upset Grandmaster YouTube.
Grandmaster Lee. Yes, but look, I find it very interesting. I want to see how this works. I'm not sure it's a straight black and white thing. I think there's going to be a lot of rule changes over the years and how we go about it. But I'm really happy that they're starting to actually do something about this now, because for so long it's gone on where NCAA makes a fortune and no one else does. So it's about time they give back. So
yeah, and the thing that upsets me is we both think that we were both on board with thinking, okay, we're one step closer to getting back the NCAA games, and now they're saying no.
Yeah, so they're saying no because they don't. What was the exact terminology? They don't want team bonding together. They won't allow for team licensing. So they strictly said no way. So they'll allow individuals to make money, but teams cannot make money because schools obviously already make enough money, but the actual team itself can't make money unless that comes from the school. So I think that's just their way of keeping a little bit. I think they want to have that power still. I don't think they want to relinquish everything. So I'm hoping that going forward they can come to some kind of arrangement where they can do that, because I want the game back. The game was awesome.
Yeah, that just makes no sense to me whatsoever. And an advantage the NFL has over the NCAA is that they have a players union. So they get a cut from all that, from what the players union negotiated for them, whereas NCAA does not have a union, and that's just going to be tough to do for student athletes in general.
And this is going to be a touchy subject, so I'm going to broach it very carefully, right?
Say what you mean, Spinksy. Say what you mean.
As a red-blooded male, I find it better that I can buy a watch off a sexy girl. Girls are more likely to make money on Instagram. They're more likely to be able to sell products. They're more likely to be able to do that kind of thing, because that's just the way that's just the day and age that we live in. Okay, so what I want to see is. What I want to see is, yeah, go up, careful. I find it better. Female soccer stars, female track athletes are probably more likely to make more money going forward doing this kind of thing than, say, your backup quarterback or your backup center. Because let's be honest, girls are beautiful, and that's just how it is. So I think they're more likely to benefit, and that's an awesome thing, because they get paid less as professional athletes. So the more they can make now through college, the better it is.
So are you saying that you would not subscribe to a Fans Only by Joe Burrow?
Personally, I would. You know I would. He's the wrong guy.
Yeah.
You know I would.
No, exactly. That's exactly what we need now, is more male Fans Only, man. You don't run this market, females. Equality is coming for you, and we're coming for the Fans Only, all 2 of our subscribers. No, and honestly, you bring up a good point. It is a good way, because female sports are not nearly as watched as the male ones. It'd be a great avenue for them to explore and to get eyeballs on them, and it's only going to make female sports better.
It is, yeah. I think, yeah, that's going to help the girls as they go on to be professional athletes too. And I think they're not getting the same market ability as the football stars or the high school or the basketballers or whatever. So I think certainly for them, this is looking up. So we'll just see how it all pans out, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it in certain senses, but
yeah,
man, it's tough being a man over 30. It really is, when you see the stuff people post and think are entertaining, excuse me, but Christ, I mean, I'm really bracing myself for some really stupid stuff from the 5th string tight end.
Yeah. I still remember the big unit from it was UCLA, 350 pound, doing it a couple of years ago. I can't actually remember his name. That was unreal, and this is before TikTok was even out. So some of these videos now, it used to be a video, you'd you'd film yourself doing a workout. You'd send it to scouts. The scouts would then pick you up out of high school. You go into college, and now it's about making a TikTok video with your friends. What do I miss, man? What do I miss?
If you're an offensive lineman and you're going to attempt to make a video online, I mean, really, you're limited to only one thing. I want to see you in an eating competition, and that's about it. I mean, have 5 of those big men up there and just have them chow down in an all-you-eat buffet. That needs to be a combine drill for offensive linemen.
Like a Nathan's hot dog eating contest, the SEC versus the Big Ten. Get them all up there, and the boys just hooking it.
Yeah. And the thing too is you're allowed to get stoned for this too. You're allowed to get high as balls, and you're allowed to just eat all you want. They need to get with the times.
I find that physically hard to watch. I find like I need to watch it because I want to see it, but I also sit there and go, "Oh, my stomach hurts. Like, I feel gross."
Oh no, it's just like you have to be like a 49er fan with no gag reflex to be able to watch that.
Poor 49ers. So close. Got this close. Yeah. Never live it down. So. It's been good. Well,
no,
mate,
I was out there for like a week, and I wasn't releasing my foot off the gas for about a week. And then I was like, okay, I have mercy since I'm a good Christian boy, YouTube.
Yes, I because it had been so long since LSU won a national championship, I might have taken things a bit far. I might have told a few people exactly how I felt about their abuse towards me over the years, being Alabama fans that my friends are. And so, hi, if you're watching, you know who you are. Yes, it took me a long time to take my foot off the throat because I didn't want to, because I've copped it for all these years since Nick Saban left. So thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah, just years of just torment on the internet, just like, ha, 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 ha. You just sit there and nod your head, and you're plotting like the Joker. You're just going to snap one day when it all comes out and scorched earth all over these people.
Oh, yes. And as you would know, being a Cowboys fan, we cop it all the time now. All the time.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. I've been simmering for the past 24 years. We have yet to play in a conference championship game, but I'm just like, okay. You know, and I still, with a big mouth I have, I'm bringing it towards myself. But
so what?
Whatever you give towards me, it will be times 100 what I spew back.
Yes, those things. I'm taking names too, so you all know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get blocked by so many goddamn people.
That happens. Beautiful. Well, Nate, look, mate, it's been an awesome show as always. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can follow me and join the millions and millions of No Remorse fans on Twitter at No Remorse Sports. No underscore, no spaces. Get this right, people. Join the millions.
You can find me at Spinksy NFL, just here on Instagram and Twitter. And we'll be back the same time next week, guys, 3 p.m. next Saturday for a week number 3, if they don't kick us off the air. So hopefully we'll be back. We'll see what happens, all right? Hooroo.